I remember having a conversation with my grandmother, who is now in heaven, rest in peace. And she just came out of nowhere and she told me my worth. And she even at one point said, "You're positioning yourself." And you can always have a feeling within you about, what your purpose may be, or what God has called upon you to do. But like I was saying in the previous message, we can always get distracted, because it's really easy to get distracted. Very easy to get distracted. Just think about this. If you have pinpointed a destination and you're traveling inside of a car, on your way to that destination, there's probably, depending on how far away that destination is, there's probably thousands of distractions. Now, these distractions come in different forms. One, you may hear, if you're traveling with other people, the conversations that they may have. But you have to keep your eyes on the road, right? And focus on your journey, even though you're having a conversation. Another distraction is things that we see along the way. There's stores on the right, there's stores on the left, and sometimes you might even have to stop for gas to get to your destination. Now, all of those distractions or those opportunities to pull over and do whatever it is that you have to do, you might even have to use the restroom. Those things come in different forms. So it could take you longer to reach your destination just because you have decided to take on that opportunity. So that's probably one of the reasons why it's very important to write our goals down. Because, and especially if you have it in a place where there's no way that you cannot see it every day, then that will sort of keep you in tune with what you are supposed to be doing at any given time. Now, in our lives nowadays, we have many opportunities to spend our time doing whatever it is, we choose to do. That also comes in the form of entertainment, which could be sports, watching television, and these things really capture our imagination or our attention. And just think of how easy it is to get caught up, and especially when we're binge watching these TV shows. Very easy. I'm guilty of it. Can spend, hours upon hours falling asleep watching shows. But what this does is, when we watch those TV shows or movies or series or whatever it is, we're actually partaking in someone else's vision and their imagination. Think about it. What is reality? Right? Everything started with an idea. There's nothing that you can see that's man-made in this world that did not begin in the mind initially. That comes from books. This is in the physical world. Books, television, tables, chairs, a house, a building, a car, a plane, so on and so forth. This is amazing, man. This is good stuff. Check this out. So I almost want to diverge a little bit, digress, and go into dreams and how wonderful and what a gift dreams are. Because I believe, and what I've been told sometimes is that, the Spirit talks to us in whispers. And I know, deep down, I also believe that, God uses others to tell us something that He wants us to hear. That's why sometimes we might, if God existed in us all, and someone tells us something, even though it might not be what we want to hear, we have to take heed to it and listen to it. Because God is within us all. Now, a person might not communicate that effectively, but they still communicate it. But we also have to be careful, because we also have to know, is that God talking to me, or is that person? Because we're all filled with emotions. So, getting back to being entertained or participating in someone else's imagination, which can come in different forms when it comes to entertainment, that we might not get anything out of, that first started in that person's mind. And when you participate in, consuming that information or consuming those images now become a part of your thinking. So that's why we have to be very careful with what we see, our eyes see. There's different ways to enter the soul or enter the mind. And I also want to go over this text with my son, especially because, he's young, very impressionable, and we got to be careful with what we let our kids hear and see and listen to. So nowadays, I believe we were watching, just for a brief period of time, I tried to stay away from the football games yesterday, because I'm starting to see it. These games last for 3 hours. I just can't see myself sitting down for that long anymore at this time and watching guys go back and forth and tackling each other, and basically, that's it. Because there's going to be one outcome. One team is going to lose, one team is going to win. And there's nothing that can happen in that football game that I haven't seen before. Now, me watching my child play, that's a different thing, right? Because I'm there for support in a way, in a sense. So we're watching TV, and to each his own. And with these commercials during these football games, I'm sitting here watching it with my son, and this image comes up of it appeared to be two guys about to kiss. And I'm just sitting there, I didn't even want to say anything about it. Because, sometimes you're around people, you say something about certain things, and they feel differently about it. It's just going to bring up an argument. Because something's going on within that person. You get what I'm saying? But I'm like, man, we've come, trust me, I believe all people should be treated equally. But we've gotten to a point where the media, or people, or these people that are in positions to project things out there into the world, it's like there's no filter. There's almost no filter anymore with what is being projected out there into society. And it's almost as if the media or Hollywood or people that are in charge of motion pictures and a lot of the things that we consume, it's almost as if they don't care about what's being put out there. And it's almost as if their beliefs, we have to accept their beliefs and abandon our own. We almost have to accept their beliefs and abandon our own. Now, everybody has a right to believe in what they want to believe in. But, there used to be like a certain structure of, okay, this is acceptable for kids. Let's leave this out of the picture. Like right now, even if you watch a sitcom, there's certain words that are said these days in sitcoms that did not used to be conveyed or communicated in sitcoms or cable television shows when I was coming up. It's appalling though. I mean, they basically can say words that you would not want your child to hear come from your mouth. And what I've learned is that, my child, when a child is being placed into a public school, they're basically being placed with kids that are coming from all types of backgrounds. All types of background. So I'm gonna digress real quick and I'm gonna get right back on it. So when you're cultivating a plant, when you're growing a plant or a flower, you know what type of temperature or environment is going to make that plant, or that's going to allow that plant or flower to flourish. But right now with our kids, bringing up our kids, which come from seeds, it's almost as if we don't even have a say in the type of environment that they're brought up in or cultivated in or raised in. Because now they learn things at school from other kids that bring things from their home, and you didn't teach your kid this inside of your home, and now you got to explain to them what this is. This is the world that we live in. We almost have to prepare our kids for what they are to face in society, and that's a huge issue because a lot of parents who are living in poverty, who are a part of a subculture of our country, they bring up their kids in a way to prepare them for what they think their kids will face in society. It's why you have a lot of parents that don't mind seeing their kid in a different light than what the next parent would, who's from a different environment or a different neighborhood. Now you see kids straight dancing. I mean, we like at this family reunion I had. Well, we had a few years ago. The little girls were dancing a certain way. It was sort of unbelievable. Because I mean, although a person can choose to do when they are adults, I don't know if it's the right thing to do to have a child think it's okay to be on the dance floor dancing that type of way. Maybe I'm old school. You know what I mean? But it's very interesting, man. But going back to the subject, not just females, but a young man, a young boy. I gotta bring this idea in because I've seen this. I've seen kids on these videos bobbing their head a certain way, putting their hands in the air, almost as if they're mimicking a gang member in their neighborhood or something. Or even holding, toy guns and things like that. And when they see these images in these video games, it almost desensitizes them to what violence is. And especially with hip-hop, you got to be careful with what you let your kids hear. You know what I mean? And hip-hop has become so ingrained in our culture, as if it's almost expected for your child to like hip-hop. Especially a parent that's driving in the car or going somewhere with their kids in the back. You can't just listen to anything. you can't just listen to anything. Because, when I was growing up, we really didn't know what they were talking about. But nowadays, this is just very explicit. Very explicit with what they say. So, getting back to that point with images and being entertained, a lot of these things, or a lot of what we let enter our mind, enter our hearts, or what we hear or listen to, it almost becomes a part of what we think. So as you go throughout life, or as we go throughout life, and we've pointed out a destination, we got to be careful with how we spend our time and what images and what things we listen to and hear to, because in a way, it can become a part of our thoughts, our vision, what we see in a part of our lives. So I just want to put that message out there, man, because what I'm starting to see, even when I just sit down and watch television, is just ridiculous. It's unacceptable, man. It's amazing. And I know how I see an image, how an image can come back in my head, when I'm just thinking thoughts through the day. So be careful with cable television these days when you're watching TV with your kids, because it's appalling. So now, since we got video on demand and things we can just watch on demand, I believe that's probably the way to go. That is probably the way to go. Because, going back to what my grandmother said, it's hard to fulfill your purpose and reach your destination and reach your high potential, fulfill your high potential, when you are being entertained about what someone else has in their mind and in their head and their vision and what they believe their purpose is. So let's be careful and be mindful of what we let enter into our mind, whether that's through audio, visual, or any other stimuli in the world. Thank you.